Hi, I'm Kosei Hirano, and this is my book review. The book I'm going to be presenting about is Migrants in Tokyo, a study of social, cultural, religious, and working lives. The author is Mega Wadwa. The place of publication is in Abingdon, Auxon, located in New York. The publisher is Routledge, and the date of publishment is in April 29, 2022, with a total of 214 pages. Migrants in Tokyo by Megan Wadwa is an ethnographic study of Indian migrants in Tokyo, particularly focusing on those working in the restaurant and IT sectors. Through in-depth interviews, participant observation, and fieldwork, Wadwa explores how these migrants navigate cultural, religious, and working life challenges. So before going into depth of the book, I just want to talk about some background information. This book aligns closely with the themes of globalization, individual identity, urban space, and how integration of ethnic minorities in urban settings play a role in society as a whole. There's also transitional labor migration and how it influences multiculturalism in Japan. Wadhwa also goes in depth about how legal, social, and cultural framework also shape the migrant experiences. I also want to mention the purpose and the audience of the book. So Wadhwa's ethnographic study aims to explore the lived experiences of Indian migrants in Tokyo, focusing on their social, cultural adaptation, religious practices, and working conditions. And I personally believe that this book is intended for scholars and students interested in migrational studies, anthropology, and I just guess overall Japanese society. So before going to depth, I just want to talk about why I chose this book. So before coming to the ILA, I lived in India in my early childhood, and in India, I was left with a lasting impression on how I view culture, community, and I just guess identity. Growing up in immense Indian festivals, languages, and everyday customs gave me a foundation of cultural fluency that continues to shape how I interpret belonging across borders. And after returning to Japan, I began to see how my identity is composed of overlapping cultural layers, which included Indian chaos and collectivism, alongside Japanese's strict order and structure. And when choosing books, I came across Migrants in Tokyo, and I was immediately drawn to its focus on Indian migrants navigating life in Japan, which I heavily believe is a dynamic that resonates my personality. And though I did not migrate for work, my transnational upbringing makes me resonate and understand cultural identity in an unfamiliar social environment. And I just feel like what draws attention to both everyday life struggles and quiet acts of, resilience, like forming religious communities in an unfamiliar cultural space, or how Indian values adapted outside of India. This book just overall helped me reflect on not only Indian migration in Tokyo, but on my own experiences of crossing cultural borders, making it both intellectually and emotionally compelling. So the summary of the main points. So the first one is motivation of the migrant workers, who identifies economic aspirations and family ties, and professional transfers as an opportunity, as well as key motivators for Indian migrants to work in Tokyo. And going on to next is cultural and religious practice in Japan. Indian migrants reconstruct the religious and community life through shared housing, makeshift temples, and food practices overall. There was a quote that caught my eye mentioning, "We made our own Diwali here, even if we worked the next day." For those of you who don't know Diwali is also known as the Festival of Lights. It's like a 5-day long festival celebrated by the Hindus, and it's one of the most significant holidays in India, as well as the Hindu calendar. And it just shows how cultural and religious practice are adapted and practiced in Japan within the Indian context. And to add on, the book just goes in depth about how Indian migrants maintain their religious and cultural identities. Modhwa discusses the establishment of makeshift temples and community gatherings. Here, another quote that caught my eyes: despite the lack of formal temples, we gather in apartments to celebrate festivals like Diwali, keeping our tradition alive, which I believe shows resilience on the community's effort to preserve their heritage and culture in a foreign land. Next is workplace environment and labor conditions. A divide exists between IT professionals and restaurant employees. These restaurant employees are often facing long hours, sometimes underpaid, and also visa insecurity. And when mentioning workplace dynamics and labor conditions, Wada also highlights difference between IT professionals and restaurant workers in Tokyo. For instance, how a restaurant worker often faces when one interviewee shared quote unquote, we work 12 hours a day and still our visa status is uncertain. It's a constant stress. While this contrasts with IT professionals who enjoy better job security. And yeah, next is gender and family. Wadhwa devotes attention to how gender roles and are negotiated in migration. Wadhwa also examines the experiences of Indian women in Tokyo. First is the ones that are accompanying their spouses. There's a quote saying, many women feel isolated, confined to their homes without a support network, leading to feelings of loneliness and depression. For instance, IT wives often face social isolation due to the demanding work hours that IT professionals have to work. And especially for some women, they face double marginalization due to their gender and class. As migrants in predominantly Japanese society, they face cultural, linguistic, and institutional barriers. And as women within their own Indian communities, they face barriers where traditional gender roles can sometimes still be visible, and it could limit their independence or social mobility. And I believe that this highlights the need for a community support system to aid in their integration. Next, we have sense of belonging. While Japan's policies emphasize economic utility over integration, many migrants may seek connection with Japanese society. However, there still are persistent exclusions, such as mentioned above, linguistic barriers, legal and social frameworks, which leads to the feeling of alienation. Next, I want to be evaluating this book. Some criteria used to evaluate this book is author and her expertise. I believe that the author is a Japanese-speaking Indian anthropologist with fieldwork experiences in Japan, as well as she holds a PhD in Japanese studies from an university in Berlin, and has published several academic articles on South Asian migration. Her insider-outsider perspective enriches her, ethnographic axis and interpretation. Next is evidence and validity. The author uses detailed ethnographic data, interviews, field notes, and participant observation to build her claims. The personal narratives humanize policy debates, but however, I personally believe that the sample size here is small and very limited, primarily to Delhi origin Indians when doing her research, which may constrain generalizability. Next is relation to course reading. I won't go in depth, but through this book there could be connections seen to Wesh's lecture. One of them is the power of cultural and invisible norms. In his lecture, Wesh emphasizes the culture that culture operates invisibly through shared norms, expectations, and just unspoken rules. And migrants in Tokyo face Japanese societal norms such as, linguistic homogeneity. While in India there's over 100 languages, and even sometimes rigid gender expectations. Individuals can sometimes be out of place, showing how these like individual cultural and societal norms can exclude individuals across multiple domains, which is a core theme in Wedge's lecture. Additional contributions, the author uniquely combines class and gender analysis with attention to religious practices, offering a more fuller picture to the migrant life and success in purpose. The book succeeds its aim in to document everyday life of Indian migrants in Tokyo, and it creates a rare narrative space for this, I guess, since because this is an understudied group in an unfamiliar environment, and it just encourages further inquiry into Asian migration flows. And finally, the conclusion. Mega Wadwa's Indian migration in Tokyo offers, I guess, a nuanced exploration of Indians' experiences in Japan by incorporating specific examples and relating them to personal experiences. We gain deeper understanding of the complexities of cultural adaptation and community building in, I just guess, a foreign environment. And yeah, that's about it for my presentation, and thank you for listening. And again, I'm so sorry, since I had so much to cover, I was speaking fast, and if there's any questions, you could ask me during next class. Thank you.